crush your enemies.
They drew first blood, not me.
See them driven before you.
Oh, my user.
And hear the lamentation of your women.
But I pity the fool.
Glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate.
Phone home.
They're here.
Oh, real light sleeper, child.
Welcome to Vintage Video, where we're rewatching the 80s so you don't have to. We'll be reviewing every major film release of the 1980s in chronological order, overanalyzing what you've seen and spoiling what you haven't. I'm Patrick O'Reilly.
I'm Jesse Bayless.
And I'm Richard Wells.
And today we're discussing The Border, released February 12th, 1982. It was written by Deric Washburn, Walon Green, and David Freeman, directed by Tony Richardson, and released by Universal Pictures. Immigration across the U.S.-Mexican border was a hot-button issue in the early 80s, and some of the same articles that inspired the writing of Charles Bronson's Borderline in our first season inspired producer Edgar Bronfman Jr. and director Tony Richardson to pitch a relevant story to Universal.
So I immediately paused the movie upon seeing this first producer credit. Because for me, the name Bronfman stood out, mostly because my most recent position was as head of production for a company called Monsters, Aliens, Robots, and Zombies, which is owned and founded by a Jonathan Bronfman. And I'm like, okay, I know Jonathan comes from this long line of, I guess, what you could consider Canadian royalty. I just started going down this rabbit hole of figuring out the family relations and researching Edgar Jr.'s, history, and I just got wrapped up in this crazy story. So apparently, well, I guess we'll start at the beginning. So Edgar Jr. is the grandson of Samuel Bronfman, who was he had started a distillery when he moved to Canada that ended up eventually purchasing Seagram's and profiting off of the American Prohibition and building the world's largest distillery.
Right.
So they become incredibly wealthy and built this huge company, of which, he passed down to his son, who eventually it went down to Edgar. But early in Edgar's career, he, was drawn to entertainment, and he did this deal with Universal, from which came this movie. But spoiler alert, it was a box office flop.
Right.
So in 82, after this movie, he goes back and starts working for Seagram's. In 94, he becomes the CEO, and it kind of just goes downhill from there. So he's still interested in the entertainment industry as a whole. And so he decides he's going to sell Seagram's shares of DuPont, because I forget if it's his father or his grandfather had made this deal where they basically acquired 25% of DuPont, which at that point was accounting for 70% of Seagram's income. So it's kind of insane.
Still a huge company.
Yeah. Which is just kind of insane that he would then go and sell it.
Right.
But he sells it, and he turns around and takes the profits from that and buys Polygram, MCA, and Universal.
Damn.
Yeah.
I remember seeing videos from when this happened of, I think it was Trey Parker and Matt Stone were hired to make a whole video about the Seagram's buyout of Universal and how they were going to jokingly put a bunch of product placement in the tram ride and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I guess, I'm not exactly sure of what happens in the ensuing years, but whatever happens, it appears it becomes necessary for Seagram's to basically sell everything to Vivendi, which is this French media empire.
Right. It's
just kind of crazy because everyone in the Bronfman family seems to have a story of building their empire.
Yeah.
Even Jonathan's got his company, which I worked for. He's a producer himself.
So sorry, he was related.
Yeah. Okay, so Jonathan, who I worked for, is second cousins twice removed from Edgar.
So Edgar was a grandson of Samuel, and so was and Edward was a grandson of Samuel's brother, right?
Yeah. So Jonathan's great-great-grandfather was Samuel's brother.
Right.
So, yeah. But I mean, Samuel had his company basically go down through his sons and not his siblings, because he had several siblings, and all of them had a bunch of children.
Yeah.
So there are tons of Bronfmans out there. And there was a whole bunch of other stories. There's insider trading, there's cults, there is sex trafficking.
Oh my gosh.
There's all sorts of things.
Didn't you tell me too that Jonathan's grandfather, Edward Bronfman, had like a huge company that rented out like
Oh no, so that Jonathan's
studio?
father,
Jonathan's
Paul,
father.
He built like a production empire in Canada as well, which provided like production facilities and equipment rental.
So it's like the Mole Richardson.
Yeah, and he had, basically he would touch like 60% of all Canadian productions through his production services and equipment rentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a family interest in film going back a ways too.
Yeah, so like there's a bunch of people that were involved in film, but I'd say that it seems like Edgar might have been the first to really dive headfirst into that one.
Yeah. And it's an interesting Wikipedia page at the very least.
Oh my God. I was going through link after link last night. I couldn't help myself.
All right. Well, let's continue discussing this film. A script and novel of the same story were being written in tandem. Robert and Laurie Dillon wrote a screenplay set to star Robert Blake after the attachment of producer James William Guercio, who had just previously produced Blake's Secondhand Hearts.
So did this novelist give up and just wait for the movie to be written? Or did
in this situation, these two people who wrote this screenplay for Robert Blake ended up they're not credited on the final product, so I think their script was thrown out eventually. But with Guercio's departure and Universal's disinterest in releasing a Robert Blake vehicle, the project was briefly in jeopardy. Obviously, all worries were alleviated when Jack Nicholson expressed an interest in the role, and Universal quickly bumped up their original budget offer of $4.5 million to more than 3 times that much, and on the way to its release, unexpected additional costs would balloon the budget further. Surprise expenses included a short break for star Nicholson to recover from a back injury on the set of Kubrick's The Shining, the famous 1980 actors' strike, and pricey reshoots to change the film's original downer ending, which disappointed test audiences.
I was wondering if she was meant to die or if everyone was meant to die.
I actually really like the other ending,
but
we'll discuss that at the end.
All right.
The lengthy actor strike also cost the film its original cinematographer, Vilmo Sigmund, due to scheduling issues, and credited DP Rick Waite was brought on to take over, though Sigmund did eventually return to the project to lens the reshoots, earning himself an additional photography credit. Another casualty of the strike was director Richardson's daughter, actress Natasha, who had to vacate her post as a casting PA to attend drama school on her way to a successful acting career. Natasha Richardson, daughter of the director. When it finally made it to theaters, it only clawed back just over $6 million of the final $22 million budget. So, not a winner, which is a rarity in Nicholson's filmography. We open with bells ringing over a Mexican church. A ceremony is taking place and uniformed revelers carry staffs through the front doors. Inside, many candles are lit and a baby is baptized. Immediately, the foundation of the building rocks with the power of what I assume is a tremendous earthquake. Mm-hmm. We never really say the word earthquake in the film, and no one mentions an earthquake that happened. But that's what seems to be happening here. Chandeliers are breaking loose from the ceiling and walls are crashing down on the churchgoers.
I feel like this is a weird way to start it because there's a lot of reasons why people might want to leave Mexico and come to the U.S., especially, in 1982 or whenever this is supposed to be taking place.
An earthquake is a strange choice.
And an earthquake is a strange choice. Yeah. It seems like there's so many more reasons that they could have gone with that. I mean, I guess maybe they were, I don't know.
It's also weird that what we see the earthquake destroying is their church and not their home, which you would suspect that maybe the point is that their home was destroyed in this earthquake and they had nowhere to live and they were looking for opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah.
I thought immediately, was like, oh, this got like some kind of supernatural thing going. Like God is
just got baptized and then the whole building collapsed on itself. Is this the omen?
Well, see, that's what I thought. Maybe I thought, okay, well, they're gonna get like kicked out of town,
right? Yeah,
because they're
they think their baby is the devil.
Yes, that's why you can't stay in this town.
Oh my gosh,
Diablo Niño.
I hadn't considered that. Many people are seen trapped beneath the rubble, and we dissolve to the ruins as people dig for survivors the next day under Across the Borderline, an original song by Jim Dickinson, John Hyatt, and the film's composer, Ry Cooder, with vocals from Freddie Fender. The young parents of the recently baptized child carry him home with faces still dirtied from the church's sudden collapse. It turns out these aren't the parents. This is a single mother and her younger brother.
Yeah. Another reason that they would be chased out of town is that you have a single mother.
Oh, but maybe it's Jesus, though. Jesus, I guess. Just north in California, we see a Border Patrol car pull up to the loading docks behind an industrial laundromat. Jack Nicholson, as Border Patrol agent Charlie Smith, enters the building and speaks with Lou, the owner of the establishment. Lou complains about how unions are going to eat his business alive if he can't keep employing illegal immigrants here. He gives Charlie his pick of 2 workers from the floor, and he asks a pair of men how many children they support with this work. One says he has 2, the other has none. Lou promises the men their jobs back as soon as they make it back across the border to him after their pending deportations.
So is this just like a standard thing? It's just like,
So
give me 2
door.
every other week or something like that so that I
Yeah.
could pretend like I'm still doing my job for you?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's got a quota, and he's helping him meet his quota. But I love Lou has got so many cigars. He's got like 4 cigars in his front pocket, and he's got one in his mouth.
Right,
It's like, how many cigars do you go through?
That's the whole point of this business, is to keep his cigars going. Charlie arrests both men. That night, Charlie gets home, and his housewife, Marcy, played by Valerie Perrine, is already on his case about what a hard day she's had. Charlie asks what she spent the day doing, and she ignores the question. She's like, I didn't even have time to shampoo my hair. And he's like, what did you do? And she's like, anyway. That's all she has to say on that. Inside, she shows him a flyer for a duplex in El Paso. She wants to buy the one next door to her friend Savannah. Charlie seems skeptical about the affordability, but she assures him the time is right. Got to make this purchase now.
Well, they're living in LA, right? So
Right. It's definitely cheaper
El Paso's
out there.
got to be more affordable.
But it's also El Paso. Like, I wouldn't want to move there either. Is he in LA or is he in San Diego? I wasn't sure.
He's in LA.
But he's with Border Patrol, right? Because he had a Border Patrol vehicle.
I think so.
Maybe he has
or
Border
maybe
Patrol
just
in LA.
immigration in general. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he does say later that he was in LA.
Okay. Charlie shares with Marcy that he might want to transition back to a Parks and Rec job, something victimless, but she tells him not to look backward in his career.
Except he doesn't say Parks and Rec.
He says recreations and parks.
Yeah, it's the old Rex and Park.
Yeah, maybe that was the way at the time. Back over the borderline, we see the young family waking up from sleeping on the streets and starting another long day walking toward the U.S. border. They stop to rest again within sight of the border, and we cut to El Paso. Marcy's friend Savannah spots the car pulling up and puts on a wig to greet her new neighbors. The girls seem birds of a feather, and Savannah is unmistakably smitten by Charlie right away. Harvey Keitel, as Kat walks up, wet from the pool with his son Timmy over his shoulders. Charlie carries Marcy over the threshold at Savannah's insistence, and inside she's on the verge of tears exploring the space. She's already envisioned a pool for the backyard. Savannah offers Charlie a welcoming kiss on the lips and seems to capture his attention fully. It doesn't go unnoticed by Marcy, but she barely reacts, leading me to assume this is the first step in a deliberate plan to do some partner swapping with the new neighbors, like they planned this.
Yeah, nothing ever comes of this, though.
No, but they hint at it more.
Also, if your best friend lives in the duplex that you're built into and they have a pool, you don't need a pool.
That's true.
That's the best way to own a pool, is to have somebody else own
Yeah.
it.
You just open up the fence and then he's like, look, you can use our side for grass stuff and you can use your side for the
Don't
pool
you guys
stuff.
love doing grass stuff? Lawn darts.
Lawn darts.
Until they make it illegal.
It was the 80s. You could do lawn darts.
Savannah makes a joke at the expense of her own breasts to bait Charlie into complimenting them, but when he doesn't, she joins Marcy to perform one of their old cheer routines, doing their best to kick as high as possible and flash their undies at the husbands. Kat leans in with another hint at future orgy plans.
Fight you, Eagle! Knock 'em dead! If we win, we'll give you head! Hey, man! No way! I did not know.
Charlie, I figure you and me have scored the best damn pussy in the whole state of Texas.
Right before we cut away, Marcy bends over and flashes a thong at the boys, and then we see Charlie getting outfitted with a new uniform for the local Border Patrol division. They try to pressure him into paying extra to tailor everything, but Charlie wants the clothes just the way they come, but he's already uncomfortable with how his money is being spent lately. Outside, the guys turn a corner onto Main Street, and suddenly, a different voice is coming out of Charlie's mouth.
I can't tell you how glad I am to have you down here, Charlie.
Well, I really want to thank
This line was too quiet in the production audio, and Nicholson was not available to re-record it, so the late, great Phil Hartman was employed to provide his famous Nicholson impression here. Do you guys recall the last time we heard Hartman's Nicholson impression on the show? As non-listeners, you might not, because it was a clip from SNL. But it was a parody of a film we've previously covered on the show.
Oh, gosh.
It was a 70s title, if that helps. I don't know that we've done multiple from Nicholson.
Was it Lothar of the Hill People?
What? No. No, it was not that. Early Nicholson.
Oh, okay, so 70s sales, so it wasn't Postman.
Correct. Same director, though.
What was that movie?
What's it about?
It wasn't the one where he's taking the guy across the country.
Oh, no, not The Last Detail.
The
That
Last
is another
Detail.
70s one.
Yeah.
Was it 5 Easy Pieces?
It was 5 Easy Pieces. In the SNL sketch, he's playing Jack Nicholson just after Batman has released on home video, and he's trying to collect his money from Warner Brothers, and he's like, I want $20 million in traveler's checks, and they're like, we can't do traveler's checks, and he's like,
Anything else?
Yeah. Now all you have to do is take $10 million from my corporate account, convert it into Time Warner stock, have the corporation sell the stock to me. I approve the transaction, I keep the stock, and you haven't broken any rules.
You want me to liquidate your corporate stock so you can sell it back to yourself, huh?
I want you to hold it between your knees.
Kat tries to prep Charlie for his first shift at the new office. Charlie is apparently being partnered with a jerk named Hawker, though it sounds a lot like everyone's saying hooker, and then when I checked the credits, I was like, oh, it is hooker. And I was like, no, that's an actual hooker.
Yeah.
It is Hawker.
I did the exact same thing.
Charlie and Hawker drive a road along the fence following the Rio Grande, and suddenly a group of kids pop out to throw rocks at their truck. When they stop the car to approach them on foot, the kids duck through a hole back to the Mexican side of the fence. For such a notorious asshole, Hawker seems pretty forgiving here.
You ever throw dirt clouds as a kid? Well, same damn game.
When it gets dark, they find a perch and watch coyotes leading packs of immigrants over the line. Hawker says it's easy to make the arrest if you let everybody over the line first.
See, if you surprise them in the river, they just hunker down in the water there and get pneumonia. I figure life is tough enough for them without making it worse.
This is back when Border Patrol cared about the well-being of these people. We saw stuff like this in Borderline from 1980, where the agents felt terrible about what these people are spending to get over the line on a daily basis, and then getting turned around and sent back after their life savings have been spent on coyotes. Now people get arrested for leaving water in the deserts to keep these people from dying. We jump forward in time to the group being processed, and Charlie supervises to learn until Hawker yanks him back to the truck to respond to an emergency call. Hawker drives like a maniac to an area they don't normally get calls in, and he tells Charlie to wait in the car, but as he searches the work yard, gunshots ring out and Hawker is down. The windshield of the truck explodes from another shot, and Charlie calls to Hawker, but the man is not responding. Charlie phones for backup, and sometime later Kat arrives and confirms Hawker is dead. Back at the station, the other agents suspect that FBI will soon get involved, but we never see any FBI
They don't
investigation.
really explain this. I mean, they say, oh, maybe he came across a drug dealer and just got shot or something, but they never really go into why or who shot him. They never find anyone.
Well, I can't tell if the point is just to set us up for, this is a violent job, and people can die randomly at any moment here.
Well, my concern was that Hawker, like as you said earlier, Hawker was like, these people have it bad enough. Like, he actually gives a crap. Right. And they probably maybe had approached him.
And even the fact that Kat in advance is saying, oh, this guy's a fucking asshole. You're going to hate him.
And
then they kill him that night.
Oh, like they had to get rid of him because he wasn't going along with the deal?
Warren Oates shows up as Red, and he's mad to have taken so long to get here. And specifically that his car doesn't go fast enough to utilize the full range of his speedometer.
You tell them damn mechanics of ours, Andy, that speedometer on my rig says 140 miles an hour, and it damn well better go 140 miles an hour the next time I want it to. Yes, sir.
We cut right to a 21-gun salute at Hawker's funeral. It looks like this man is being buried in a triangle of desert sand between 3 freeways. It doesn't look like a cemetery at all. It's literally just dirt.
That's all they have in El Paso.
Wonderful. Why wouldn't you want to die there? I mean, live there. Later, we see Charlie driving alone along the Rio Grande and watching Mexicans washing their clothes in the river. He sees the young mother from earlier tucking the baptized baby into a basket and collecting water in a pail. He walks down to the water's edge to speak to her, but as he does, a boy crawls around removing all the hubcaps to his truck. He tries to chase the kid down, but he gets across the river ahead of Charlie, and Charlie gives up. Moments later, the baby's mother drags her brother back to the river, and she returns Charlie's hubcaps. He thanks her and tells her she's beautiful, but she has already left. When Charlie gets home, he finds the garden hose has been run through the house into the bedroom, where an enormous waterbed croaks quietly. He's annoyed at the expenditure, but Marcy says it was basically free because she put it all on credit and doesn't know what that is. She lures him into bed right now, and eventually he joins her, but as she undoes his belt, he just stares up at the $1,589 price tag stickered on the headboard.
That's over $5,000.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend that now on a waterbed, although I wouldn't accept a free waterbed, because those seem terrible.
I used to have a waterbed.
Wasn't it awful?
I liked it.
It's good to keep scissor hands out of your bed.
It's terrible for like
sleeping,
every aspect of your of your health, like your joints and your back.
Is it really bad for your joints?
I don't like. There's no support. So.
I couldn't sleep like that because I don't move when I sleep, and so if suddenly I was in a position where it's like everything's fluid underneath me, that would just bother me too much.
I liked it, but I also like it gets cold. So like you have to have a heater on under the mattress to like warm the water in the bed.
Why would you do that? The next day, a Border Patrol truck follows another coyote and his customers through a ravine, and before they can be processed, the coyote makes a run for it. Charlie tracks the kid down and drags him back to the rest of the group, where Kat slaps him around hard. Charlie thinks it's overkill until Kat reveals a belt of Ziploc bags full of cocaine around the kid's belly. Kat tells him to load the kid into the truck while they deal with the rest of these people. More trucks arrive, and as they're loading everybody inside, Charlie recognizes the mother who returned his hubcaps, and she spits in his face. Clearly, she is less amused by the coincidence of being arrested by this man she helped yesterday.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, it's me. Of course she's going to spit in your face, you idiot. Back at the station, Kat introduces Charlie to Manuel, his partner across the border, who typically gives him a heads up about border movements. Kat tells Charlie he's needed elsewhere and lets Manuel into the cell with the man who was caught with the cocaine belt. In the write-up room, a collection of other border patrolmen talk about how Texas relies on some of these people getting through every year, and that if they were better at their jobs, it would bring the state to a grinding halt.
You go out on some broiling hot day and pick your own lettuce and tomatoes and beans and onions. Hey, Jimbo, sounds like you figured on turning that silly-ass uniform becoming a cow.
It's crazy to me that, like, this is exactly the same arguments that we're still having.
And I think all these conversations also happen in Borderline.
Yeah, but it's just crazy to me that it's been all of these years and we still have the same exact problems, not just...
Well, there's money to be made, so they got to keep doing it.
But we need people that will do the work. Why not just let them in and let them do the work?
Because where's the fun in that? Charlie processes a grandmother but is distracted by the crying baby across the room. That night, Kat talks about how hard they work keeping these people out, even though companies in Texas actually facilitate their entries because they need the cheap labor. Charlie admits California wasn't super different, but he senses Kat is trying to make a larger point.
What are you fishing for?
Well, I figure you and me might have some of the same ideas about things, Charlie. I mean, we're neighbors. I'm trying to build something for my family. And I know how hard you've been working to build something for yourself and Marcy. And I'm on to something good, partner, and I figured maybe I could bring you in.
Yeah, well, you figured wrong, Kat.
Then, Kat says something weird that I could categorize as another hint for the swinger pile, but I don't think that's what he means.
Okay. Any way you want it, partner. I mean, I'll fight you, fuck you, burn you a foot race. Whatever you want, Charlie.
What does that mean exactly? I think he's just saying, like, this isn't going to be why we stop talking to each other. So whatever you've decided about this deal, we don't have to go through with it.
But I like that he put it in a sandwich. It's just like, you know.
Just hide the second option.
Yeah, it's a fight you, fuck you, or run a foot race.
Yeah.
What was that middle one again? Fight you.
I think you said that first. When Charlie gets home, Marcy tells him she's decided to pursue television acting as a career, and Charlie thinks she's crazy.
It is a seed. It is a little tiny seed that is sprouting in my mind.
I married a banana.
She's totally insane.
Yeah, she is.
He should leave her.
Yeah, definitely. The conversation moves to the backyard, and as it becomes more animated, Charlie takes a big step backwards and falls through a tarp into the open pool.
Charlie, my son! What are you doing?
What the fuck is this, Marcy?
It's our new swimming pool! Charlie, are you all right?
So is there water in this pool?
There is some.
There is.
But it looks like it's still being dug out because it's all dirt.
They filled it with water first, and then they're going to pave it.
It's easier to dig when it's wet.
Is
that
it?
does make sense a little bit.
I don't think it is.
I don't know. It's easier to dig when you can pull out a big block of ice from the middle, and there's a caveman inside.
Are you referencing Encino Man?
Yeah, remember they were digging a pool. That's how they found him. The next day, Charlie's walking along the river again and sees the same young mother. He calls to her and tries to apologize, but she leaves. This time, he fully crosses the river into Mexico to follow her. A man tries to sell him women, but Charlie isn't looking for prostitutes. He comes to a local junkyard, and upon spotting Charlie, another man skips away into the night. Charlie checks what the man was doing and finds the body of the cocaine-belted guy with his throat slit among the piled garbage. Charlie races across town to find a party in full swing. Marcy is annoyed that he's been incommunicado and isn't dressed for the occasion that he seemed unaware of. Charlie informs Kat that Cocaine Belt is dead and that he found his body over the border.
Somebody slit his goddamn throat. I just left him on the other side with Adam's apple all over his fucking chest.
Kat says that Charlie needs to understand Mexico has their own way of dealing with these people, and Charlie interprets this as blaming Manuel for the murder, because he's like, you already told me that guy's in charge of stuff over there, so you're telling me he did this. They both speak with Red, who is disappointed by Charlie's underdressing.
Say, you didn't have to dress up on my account. Maybe you better check his green card there, kid. I think he's come in wet.
They tell Red what Charlie found, and he chastises Charlie for crossing the border that way.
I just went over there to look around.
Well, maybe you don't know this, but I don't like my men going over there. Not even for a Mexican meal. You get in trouble over there, and I'd have a hell of a time getting you out.
The mariachi band strikes up into a performance of the Happy Birthday song because this party is in honor of Red's birthday. We hard cut to the borderline as another incoming batch of illegal immigrants march alongside a train. Border Patrol catches up with the group, and the boy who stole Charlie's hubcaps makes a run for it, and his sister calls after him. Charlie promises to catch the kid, and when the boy dives under a moving train, Charlie follows him there and holds him down to keep him clear of the train's undercarriage. When the train passes fully over them, everyone compliments his bravery.
Man, you have me scared shitless. Absolutely scared shitless. Risking your life for that little fucker.
Even the boy's sister seems to wordlessly admit she has misjudged him.
Is he really saving him? All he did
I mean, if the kid was dumb enough to climb under a train, I wouldn't doubt that he would try and get up before it was time and get run over.
He didn't climb under the train. He fell under the train.
Right, but that was dumb. It's dumb to run and lose your balance next to a moving train.
I guess, but he basically just went and laid next to the kid on the track.
That's what I would do if one of our kids went under a train, and it would be to keep them from trying to get up and hitting their head on the bottom of a train. The next day, the girl and her young brother are separated into 2 detention facilities. Charlie is told to go speak with the chief and notices Manuel talking to a woman wearing a bandana and pointing to the young mother. Red invites Charlie duck hunting, and while they have him distracted, Bandana Woman approaches the young mother and offers to hold the baby while she gets washed up. In private, Red tries to give Charlie an education about how things work around here, while outside, the young mother realizes that Bandana Girl has disappeared with her baby. Her brother sees her distressed and throws a poncho over the razor wire cage to climb out. A cloud of border patrolmen force all the captives back into the fenced area and sound the alarms. They use tear gas on the crowd, but when the smoke clears, they learn that one of the prisoners has had her baby stolen. Later, we see Kat in Mexico speaking with Manuel about the kidnapping, and Manuel says he made good money on the deal and that the baby gets a family that can provide for it better than that girl ever could.
I thought that this was weird because this is the only time we really kind of show a conversation with Kat and another person that's outside of the realm of Charlie.
Yeah, but I think it's just to let us know for sure what happened and to keep Charlie out of this because he can't find out yet. Kat tells Manuel this isn't going to happen again because he's making unnecessary waves for their operation. A man walks by and Manuel points him out. The man has a burned face. Apparently he runs a rival coyote line and it's going to cost some of their profits if he keeps doing it. The next morning, Charlie wakes up on the waterbed to Marcy guiding moving men around their living room with an all-new furniture set.
You want the plastic on or off the sofa?
I want it out.
Charlie tries again to explain that they can't afford any of this.
All our goddamn money is locked up in this goddamn house. Do you understand that? By the time they take the mortgage payments out of my paycheck, there's not enough left to buy you a fucking box of tampons.
Charlie, I am doing the best that I know how.
Marcy pretends that she's doing this to make him happy, even though he couldn't be clearer that he doesn't want any of this. And when she flips out on him for complaining about money all the time, he slaps her to the ground.
All I ever do is try to make you happy.
I don't know why he's not pointing out, you are doing this for yourself. None of what you're doing is for me. Literally none of this has been for me. I didn't want to come to El Paso. I didn't want a pool. I didn't want a waterbed. I don't want this furniture. We cut to a billiard hall, and Charlie tells Kat that he's ready to hear about whatever deal he's made to make more money. It seems like he's finally agreeing to this measure in an effort to save his marriage because he feels so bad about hitting her earlier. Kat takes him to the home of a man named JJ, which is also the name of one of Nicholson's most beloved characters. And the guy doesn't like the cut of Charlie's jib, and in particular, his California history.
I ain't kidding you. I'd go down there and hold my nose and put a double rubber on my dick and fuck all those dockside whores down there. Likely as not, I might have knowed your mother, sonny.
Charlie steps forward to kick his ass, and the man draws a gun, so Kat walks Charlie outside. Kat tells JJ to cool it, and JJ says he can't trust a Californian stranger. JJ says Kat can't trust him either, but Kat thinks he can buy Charlie's loyalty.
That's just money, boy. That's all that is. That ain't enough.
We cut now to a backyard barbecue at Charlie's home, and he is manning the grill beside their pool. Everything looks pretty past cooked, but Charlie isn't ready to surrender the food yet. Marcy is annoyed it's taking so long. Even the other guests are making fun of Charlie's burnt shish kebabs.
Hey, Charlie. Hey, when them coals gonna be ready?
Savannah has had a bit too much to drink, and after Kat calls her out, she moves to help Charlie at the grill. She plucks something off of it and tosses it at another guest, the Border Patrol agent played by Dirk Blocker, and he responds by throwing more food at them and messing up everything left on the grill. Charlie's had enough and rolls the grill through the chaos like a stroller across the yard before dumping it into the pool.
Soup's on.
Back on the job, Kat radios to Charlie about a truck moving through their jurisdiction driven by the burned-face coyote guy. Charlie manages to catch up with the vehicle and crashes into it to stop him. Kat takes custody of the coyote and leaves the immigrants to Charlie. Once Charlie gets the group loaded up, he hears gunshots in the distance. Later, he waits for Kat to return to the station and calls him out right away.
You hear a lot of gunshots. It's just
He's like, how many shots did this take? That is weird.
Yeah, it's like 2 at the most, but there was like 3. I was like, man, you're a terrible shot.
Charlie is not cool with murder, and what Kat did is inexcusable. Kat claims that Charlie missed a gun when he patted down the coyote, and Charlie's not buying it. There was no fucking gun! I just love his delivery for that one line.
He pulled a gun.
Oh, he didn't have no fucking gun.
You sure did, partner. Only you fucking missed it.
Ah, bullshit.
Ultimately, Kat admits that the man with the burnt face was costing their side business a profit, and this was the easiest way to deal with it. Charlie officially taps out of the business here. He draws a line in the sand with his foot.
You see this fucking line? This line right here I don't cross. This fucking line right here.
We cut to a salon where Marcy and all her friends are getting their hair did. Marcy complains that Charlie seems less and less like the man she married, and Savannah gives him some seemingly innocuous advice.
Just keep that sweet thing buttered up. He's not going to wander too far from home.
Seeming to imply that if he did, it wouldn't be much farther than next door.
Right.
We cut to Charlie having a drink at a bar, and a drunk woman at the next bar stool over compares him to her ex.
He'd fuck a woodpile if he thought there was a snake in it.
Do you guys recall the last time we mentioned a character who would fuck a woodpile on the chance there was a snake in it? You don't remember this?
I don't.
This was a whole argument on the show because you were like, is the snake pleasurable? I don't understand the phrase.
I was literally going to have that argument again right now. I don't remember the first time I had it, but this happens all the time.
No, the phrase is meant to imply this is the worst sex imaginable. And that's how desperately horny this guy was.
But, okay. But I feel like
right.
The idea of the worst sex ever is the woodpile aspect of it because
but that's not sex because that's just a woodpile.
But there's little holes between the stacks.
Right. But there's not another living thing there. The point of it is sex involves a second organism. And so you need a snake, which is the worst possible thing to be in that woodpile.
So the sex part of it would just be the snake biting him?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically oral.
I don't remember this.
Anyway, we had this exact conversation already once. Do you remember what it was from?
I don't.
Night Moves.
Night Moves.
They're talking about the stuntman on the set of the movie.
He'd fuck a woodpile on a chance there was a snake in it.
The woman says that life is all probably somebody else's dream anyway, and when Charlie asks whose dream it is, she doesn't have an answer. He leaves, and she cries in her drink. I thought that was a weird way to end the scene.
Well,
it's like, what are we talking about?
Well, you think that she might be propositioning him, but it just seemed like she just needed someone to talk to.
Yeah. And when he dismissed her theory out of hand, she was like, oh, back to the drawing board.
She just fades away.
She was the dream. In the parking lot, Charlie finds the young mother's brother and asks where he might find the girl.
¿Dónde está su hermana?
¿Vos mi hermana? $5.
$5.
The boy leads Charlie to a strip club where the girl has resorted to working in an effort to save the money to buy back her child. This is the first Charlie's learning that her baby was even taken. When he tries to speak to her, the pimp of this place tries to point Charlie to some other merchandise, but he just wants to talk to this girl. He informs the man that he and this girl are leaving together now.
Anybody tries to stop me, I'm gonna throw this fucking place into the street.
It's like that's the most oversell that you could have done here because you're just one dude in the middle of a strip club in Mexico. A predictably lopsided bar fight ensues, and Charlie is tossed on his ass in the parking lot. The next day, word has gotten to Manuel what Charlie did, and he informs Kat that this Californian is about to be a problem. Kat says he's got a plan that will straighten Charlie out. The next day, Charlie scores another coyote bust, but the driver coyote ditches the car and disappears on foot. Charlie checks the back, and upon finding the truck empty, chases down the driver. The camera sits on the empty truck for a moment, and a creepy score highlights the shot. Something's going on here. Back at the station, the coyote admits in processing that he was transporting 2 individuals, but Charlie corrects him there was no one in the truck, and the man ditched it. Kat asks how sure he was there was no one inside, and another agent suggests that sometimes they hide really good, but Charlie says he's certain.
So he doesn't, when he checked, he didn't open the bag.
No, but he looked through the back window.
Through the back window.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I would have been able to see.
I don't think so either.
There's no windows in the back.
And no door. No, there's doors on the back. He should have opened the back.
Yeah. But, you peek your head into the driver's side and look back, you're just going to see the back of the driver's side seat.
Yeah. I feel like we should have gotten a more specific hint about what happened in this moment. But my theory is that the truck was empty.
No, it definitely was.
We don't know that because he
we
didn't
see,
actually check.
But we see them put the guys in after the fact.
There could be 4 guys in there now.
Well, only 2 dead bodies fall out. Spoiler alert.
We brought these dead guys all the way here. There's already dead guys in the truck.
Oh my God. We should have checked. Like he didn't. Kat jumps to Charlie's defense and suggests correcting the paperwork since Charlie obviously knows what he's talking about. This comment finally works Charlie into going back and checking the vehicle with Kat, and when he gets it open, a body falls out into the dirt.
Two bodies.
There were 2 men in the back of this truck, burnt alive in the desert heat all day. Charlie vomits at the sight of the 2 cooked men.
And it's really disturbing because not only do they fall out, there's like bloody handprints like that had clawed at the door because they're locked in from the outside.
Right. It's like that sloth in the cave.
Oh, yeah.
All the claw marks on the wall because he couldn't get out. Anyway, do the tour at the, was that the Grand Canyon Cavern?
Grand Canyon Caverns.
Kat offers to sweep this whole debacle under the rug for Charlie in exchange for his complete loyalty moving forward.
But from now on, you do exactly like I say. If I tell you a piss ant can haul a bale of cotton, you don't question me. You just hitch that fucker up.
Charlie and Kat sink the truck with both bodies in a muddy lake, and Charlie swears allegiance to Kat. That night, Charlie can't sleep, and Marcy finds him crying in the living room and holds him close. The next day, Charlie is patrolling the fence again when he spots the younger brother and asks to speak with the young mother. This time, he even offers them a trip over the border for their trouble. The girl misunderstands the offer and thinks he wants cash or her body, but Charlie explains in English that he wants to cancel out some sins of his past. She doesn't understand English, and he doesn't bother to translate, instead simply promising again safe travel into America tomorrow. We cut into a NASA-level control room where people are monitoring packs of immigrants approaching the border via satellite or something, radar maybe, sonar. We saw some tools for this in Borderline when they had motion detectors buried in the sand so they could sense footprints. I don't know if that's what they're doing here. A coyote leads another group of people downriver toward a crossing point, and we see Charlie pull up and park just before a dozen more trucks and helicopters arrive. With the brunt of the Border Patrol efforts arresting this group, Kat whistles to a second coyote, and Charlie watches through a night vision scope as the boy and girl are able to cross the river uninterrupted. The next day, Charlie watches the same coyote wave the group into the back of a truck that will take them to their new employers in America. Charlie and Kat don't stick around to watch the truck pull away. JJ and Manuel slam the truck shut before the younger brother can be loaded inside. When JJ confirms the brother is attempting to smuggle drugs on this trip, the kid makes a run for it, and JJ shoots him on his way out of the property. Another pair of Border Patrol agents spot the truck taking the girl away and attempt to pull it over. Charlie's plan is falling apart. The box truck bounces all its passengers in a violent high-speed chase and eventually crashes hard off the road into a ravine.
I don't know how they kept this truck upright for half of the driving that
they do a lot of turns on two wheels with this thing. Charlie arrives on scene right away and finds the girl he was attempting to smuggle injured but alive. He brings her home and asks about her brother Juan, but she explains that JJ took her brother away. We get a quick shot of Juan marching across the river bleeding from his gut. Marcy is confused to find an illegal immigrant woman in her living room and suggests calling an ambulance, but Charlie says that Marcy will have to take care of her while he finds her brother Juan. He returns to JJ's place and overhears a conversation between JJ and Red. JJ is mad that the truck was intercepted, and Red explains that he can't stop good Border Patrol agents from doing their actual job some of the time. Charlie pulls a gun on the two men and demands to know where Juan went. JJ claims the kid went back to Mexico. Charlie goes back home to collect the girl and then leaves with her to find her brother. Marcy assumes Charlie is leaving with this girl for good. It's like, no, that's not what's happening here. Somehow they find Juan, and he's lost a lot of blood, but the girl can't wake him. They have a funeral for the boy, and the next morning, JJ and Manuel show up to finish the job. Charlie pushes open a door to see who's here, and JJ is already shooting at him. They take a few pot shots at each other until JJ runs face first into a barbed wire fence, and when he falls backward, he discharges his shotgun into his own face and demolishes his whole skull.
I was not expecting this. This was a crazy shot. He
it's
just
so cool.
blows his own head off.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
It was great.
I feel like this is one of those things where they're just like, we've set this guy up as too much of a good guy. Everyone else has to kill themselves. And it's like, but they're having a shootout. Why would he just shoot himself in the middle of a shootout? I don't know. He tripped on a fence and he shot himself in the head. The girl comes out slowly to see if Charlie's okay, and we cut to Manuel drinking at a bar.
I don't know why she comes out here. Like,
because she's worried that Charlie's dead.
There's all this shooting going on.
Yeah.
Just stay there.
It hasn't stopped for long enough that you're sure someone won already.
Yeah.
Manuel claims that he still has the kid, and he will cut Charlie in on the deal of selling it. They leave together to locate the child, and when Bandana Girl sees Charlie with Manuel, she covers the baby with a blanket to hide it. Manuel and the girl run from the house, and in their absence, Charlie hears the baby crying and leaves with it to return it to its mother. Just as he gets back to her, Charlie is blindsided by Kat, Red, and other corrupt agents who shoot his truck full of holes. Charlie tucks the baby low on the passenger side floor and fires on another agent's truck until they flip it off a parked bulldozer. Kat calls out to Charlie to try and make a deal, but Charlie responds with a bullet and pops the tire of the tractor Kat is hiding under, so that as the tire deflates, the vehicle slowly crushes into the ground.
Oh, it was so great.
It was so great. Okay, so the guy tripping and blowing his head off, and then Kat getting crushed on this bulldozer.
But again, we can't just shoot the guy. We have to do this, like, Rube Goldberg machine to kill him.
Hilarious. But why is, like, the two greatest moments of this movie, like, in the last 5 minutes of the film? Why couldn't the rest of the movie have been like this?
So I heard something, and I wanted to try to isolate it and get your guys' opinion on it. And I'll show you 3 clips. First is from 1957's The Land Unknown.
Okay.
Then the second one's from Duke Nukem 3D.
All right.
And the third is from The Border.
So that's a monster voice in Duke Nukem also?
Yeah, it's a stock sound effect.
Yeah. But they used it for a truck rolling.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So I did a lot of audio forensics to try to figure out the origin of that sound. And I found a documentary that this guy had made, and like he said, the first use that he was able to find was
the unknown origin one.
The Land Unknown in 1957. But then that monster roar has been used in so many movies.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's even the voice of Jaws in Jaws the Revenge.
Oh, that's funny.
But I just wanted your opinion if you guys thought that the vehicle crashing sound.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it does
for sure the same sound.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last time we isolated a recognizable sound effect from a Jack Nicholson film?
Jack Nicholson film. I know the monsters that we had that were in An American Werewolf in London and Crawl. It's not that monster sound effect, right?
It's not even a monster sound effect. It's just a sound effect.
A sound effect
Is it
that
a
we
Howie
heard
scream?
No.
Oh.
in a Jack Nicholson movie.
Is it in The Shining?
No.
I don't know.
In 5 Easy Pieces, the garbage compacting machinery.
Oh, from because it was the sound of the oil derricks at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they used it for the trash compactor in
Correct,
Star Wars. Right. Charlie collects the baby from his destroyed car and returns it safely to the girl. She's obviously overjoyed to have her son back, and we freeze frame on them standing in the river together. The end.
I was fully expecting, like, Charlie was arrested moments later
Right.
and spent 5 years in prison.
Well, so the original ending, instead of this whole shootout car explosion thing, he overhears this conversation between JJ and Red and realizes that the entire Border Patrol office is all corrupt, that everyone are the bad guys, and he blows up the Border Patrol office and goes to jail for it. And that was the end of the film.
But he never gets the baby back?
I think he must get the baby back. But the only part that they talk about as important is the fact that he literally goes to the Border Patrol headquarters and blows it up with a bomb, and then he gets sent to prison for it.
I like it.
Yeah, I think they both work because I really like this, like killing each individual man that's responsible for what's happening in the film.
I just wanted more of that.
Yeah, it would have been neat. But that's the end. That's The Border. Didn't do so great in the box office. I think partly because this ending is a little corny compared to how serious the rest of the movie was.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoyed this ending.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that shotgun head blast because that feels like such a weird thing to put into this movie.
I don't even know how they accomplished this shot.
Well, he points a fake gun at his head and then they do a jump cut to a prop head exploded.
Yeah, but the prop head exploding looks really great.
It does. It looks great. Yeah.
Because it's not like it doesn't scanners off his head.
Yeah.
It's like takes just a chunk.
A big swath.
I mean, it looks like they actually shotgunned whatever they made that fake head.
They used a different guy's head. Killed him.
They got a guy whose face was already partially destroyed.
Yeah. He's like, go ahead, guys. I'm not going to feel it. I'm already dead.
But the slow crushing by a giant piece of
I know.
equipment,
It's so brutal. He's just like, just getting smashed by it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I think Jack Nicholson totally makes it. I don't think this movie would have worked with anyone else.
Yeah.
Because he's so captivating in everything that he does. And I think it's fun to have Warren Oates be such a shitty bad guy too, in this story. Harvey Keitel seems to do this a lot already, that he's like, you know, the scheming weaselly guy who's trying to make money in the background and he's just kills people on a whim. Because I mean, he had to be pretty a pretty rotten person to do almost everything that he did in this movie. As much as they pretend like, oh, he had no choice to do it. Valerie Perrine is great because she's doing what she needs to do, which is be screechy and waste all of his money and put this pressure on him to be involved with their corrupt dealings. But it's weird that he waited so long and that his solution wasn't to drop the girl, but to then decide, I'm okay with killing people now. Like that was the way you went with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really care for that because it didn't seem like it was in his character. But I also would have liked more action adventure throughout it. Like this casually wandering back and forth across the Mexican border seemed a little bit odd to me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there doesn't seem to be very high stakes.
He's also
for
not
him earlier in the film.
He's not suspicious enough at all that he's been set up with these guys that got cooked in the truck. Like the fact that this guy's been begging him to be a part of his side business, and that and made it very clear that he's willing to kill people at the drop of a hat. And then suddenly 2 people die and he's like, okay, I'll fix this for you. Even though you think you didn't do this and somehow it still happened, I'll fix it for you, but you have to do everything I say forever. And it's like, I feel like I would have been like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You fucking did this, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, we start off with his character already kind of being a little like, not suspicious, but not great. It was like, I just need 2 guys to take with me across the border.
Right, yeah.
Like, because I don't care about my job and I don't care about actually what I'm doing. So we set him up that way. But then when he gets to El Paso, he's like super passionate about
doing the job right.
About doing the job right. And I was like, well, that's not who we were introduced to.
Yeah. And I feel like his problem isn't necessarily about doing the job wrong. It's about doing it to literally like murder and kill people, which is what seems to be a side effect of this business Keitel is running.
Yeah, as far as like what his character is trying to do early on is his major goal is just, my wife is spending money, I need money.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't like they were in hard times or like all of their problems were very solvable.
Yeah.
Like,
all you have to do is get her to stop spending the money or leave her.
Yeah.
And then your problems are all solved.
Like, it's like, oh man, I bought too many things. I guess I got to go do crimes now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not the answer. The answer is,
it's not like you had some disease and you needed to pay for it by doing the crimes.
Exactly. Like it felt very shallow of him to just so quickly turn on his morals. It's like, no, I guess I got to do it.
I mean, it's a pretty cool couch. Let's go murder some coyotes.
It's a Davenport. No.
Oh.
But
I still give it a thumbs up.
I was fine with it. I thought it was just okay, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. There were parts I liked, and there were parts I felt neutral about.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever give a Jack
anything.
Nicholson movie a thumbs down, honestly.
No, it's definitely a thumbs up.
Okay, what do you got?
So I have this one at 7 out of 19 for the year.
Okay.
I have it below Butterfly and above Jaws of Satan.
All right.
I have it in 6th, which puts it below Vice Squad, but above Splits.
I have it in 5th, which is just under Butterfly and just above The Beast Within. Our director here was Tony Richardson. Before this, he directed Look Back in Anger, A Taste of Honey, and The Loneliness of a Long-Distance Runner, on the way to Best Picture, Director, Writer, and Score winner Tom Jones in 1963. He also directed Hamlet starring Nicol Williamson in 1969, but not much after this. He was briefly married to actress Vanessa Redgrave, and their eldest daughter together was actress Natasha Richardson, who became a famous champion of AIDS-related causes after the death of her father from the disease in 1991. Richardson was also married to Liam Neeson at the time of her untimely death from a head injury during a ski lesson. The writer here was Deric Washburn, or one of the 3 writers. He previously wrote Douglas Trumbull's Silent Running and Michael Cimino's Deer Hunter. After this, he writes Extreme Prejudice for Walter Hill. Another writer, Walon Green. Before this, he wrote The Wild Bunch and Sorcerer. Later, he writes War Games, Solar Babies, RoboCop 2, Eraser, and Disney's dinosaur film. That's an eclectic mix. Do you guys recall the last time we saw Walon Green in a film? Hint, he's not an actor and has 0 acting credits on IMDb, but we've seen him in a single insert, according to the film's director.
Wait, so he's not credited, but we've seen him?
We saw him in the movie. He's not credited on IMDb, but he's in the movie.
In an insert.
He was the only person the director could find that was willing to play this part.
I have no idea.
He had a millipede on his face.
Not Blue Lagoon, is it?
No.
No. That was a crab.
That was a crab coming out
of
his
his mouth. He was definitely credited.
Was it in Indiana Jones?
No.
Willy Wonka?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
I actually found a clip of Green confirming it's him in the film from an interview with the Television Academy Foundation.
He said, "Oh, it'll be a great shot, do it." And I said, "No, I'm scared of the thing. He might actually, like, what if he bites my eyelid or something? Or there's a nerve here that, a centipede bite would be really bad." I was too scared to do it. And I said, "Get the big millipede." We had a big millipede. They're harmless. And so we did the shot with the millipede.
Wait, where's there a millipede on someone's face?
It's during the boat ride.
Oh,
it's one of the clips.
Oh, it's one of the clips that play on the walls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that, because I would not have mentioned it, and people would have been like, "I don't fucking remember that."
Me neither. I play the role of the audience on this show.
The third writer was David Freeman. He previously wrote First Love and Heroes, and later Street Smart. The music here came from Ry Cooder. We've heard his work previously in The Long Riders and Southern Comfort. Later, he scores Paris, Texas, Streets of Fire, Brewster's Millions, Last Man Standing, Primary Colors, and most recently, Wong Kar-wai's My Blueberry Nights. Interesting choice. The cinematographer here was Rick Waite, or the credited cinematographer. He previously lit Defiance and On the Nickel, directed by, I believe, his brother Ralph Waite, but I couldn't confirm any relation beyond them spelling their names the same. Later, he lights 48 Hours, Footloose, Red Dawn, Brewster's Millions, Summer Rental, Cobra, Rambo 3, Adventures in Babysitting, and The Great Outdoors, among many others. The uncredited cinematographer was Vilmos Zsigmond. We've seen his work in our Patreon reviews of Deliverance, Paper Moon, and The Sugarland Express. Before that, he'd lit Satan's Sadists, Five Bloody Graves, and McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Before this, he lit Close Encounters, and so far, we've seen his work in Heaven's Gate and Blowout. He comes back to light Real Genius, Witches of Eastwick, The Two Jakes, Bonfire of the Vanities, Maverick, Ghost in the Darkness, and Black Dahlia. And, of course, we saw him referenced in a fourth wall break during Full Moon High when a jail guard accidentally shot the cameraman.
Jesus, he shot the camera. A wolfman in the song and he shoots the camera. Did he get the cameraman too? Vilmos, are you okay?
The editor here was Robert K. Lambert. He previously cut Sorcerer, The Driver, and so far on the show, The Final Countdown. Later, he cuts Blue Chips, Ed, Three Kings, Red Planet, Rush Hour 2, House of a Thousand Corpses, and I Heart Huckabees.
Oh, wow.
Some creative editing in I Heart Huckabees. That's an interesting credit. A lot of that weird, like, boxes appearing in screen and blurring into each other. Jack Nicholson played Charlie Smith here. He got a start in a bunch of Corman stuff and then exploded after Easy Rider into titles we've discussed like 5 Easy Pieces, The Shining, The Postman Always Rings Twice, and Reds. He shows up in Carnal Knowledge, Tommy, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Going South, which he directed himself. After this, he's in Terms of Endearment, Witches of Eastwick, Batman, A Few Good Men, Mars Attacks, As Good as It Gets, About Schmidt, and The Departed. He has 12 nominations for Best Actor, and he won for Cuckoo's Nest, Terms of Endearment, and As Good as It Gets. Harvey Keitel played Cat. He got his film start in a lot of Scorsese stuff. Mean Streets, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver. He's Mr. White in Reservoir Dogs. He's the Lieutenant in Bad Lieutenant. He's the Wolf in Pulp Fiction. We saw him last in Mother Jugs and Speed, based on My Father. After that, he showed up in Apocalypse Now, and we've covered his work in 80s titles Bad Timing and Saturn III, wherein his voice was entirely dubbed over by Roy Dotrice. Obviously, he reunites with Nicholson for 1990's The Two Jakes. Later, he's in From Dusk Till Dawn, U-571, Little Nicky, Inglourious Bastards, Moonrise Kingdom, and he was also just Angelo Bruno in Scorsese's The Irishman. Since then, I've seen him in one very uncomfortable Super Bowl commercial cameo where he looked mostly CG, and I'm not sure why. Valerie Perrine played Marcy. Before this, she was in Slaughterhouse-5, Lenny, The First Superman, and we've seen her now in Can't Stop the Music, Cannonball Run, and The Second Superman as Eve Teskmacher. Warren Oates played Red. He's Lyle Gorch in The Wild Bunch. He's the father in Badlands, and Benny in Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. We saw him last as Sergeant Hulka in Ivan Reitman's Stripes, and this was the last film of his to hit theaters in his lifetime. He died of a heart attack in April of '82, but we'll still catch performances from him released posthumously in Tough Enough and Blue Thunder next season. Elpidia Carrillo played Maria. I guess that's the girl. Does he ever say her name in the movie?
No, but it's the only...
Yeah, it must be her. Later, she's Anna in Predator and Predator 2. More recently, she played Sonia in a couple episodes of Euphoria, and Rocio Reyes, the mother of the Blue Beetle in DC's Blue Beetle film. Shannon Wilcox played Savannah. She reminded me a lot of Julie Haggerty in this, like a super horned up Julie Haggerty. If it had a decent home video release, we would already have seen her in Cheaper to Keep Her from 1980, but maybe that'll get a minisode. Later, she's Mrs. Mills in The Karate Kid, she's Mrs. Williams in Legal Eagles, and she's Giovanni Ribisi's mom in The Other Sister. She's also the mother of actress Kelly Williams, who played Lindsay Dole in 145 episodes of The Practice, and she was also the grumpy sister in that Lifetime remake of Tim with Candice Bergen. Wilcox was married for some time to Mo Green himself, actor Alex Rocco. Jeff Morris played JJ. He previously appeared in Kelly's Heroes, The Gauntlet, and Goin' South. We've seen him so far as Bob in Blues Brothers, a role he reprises in the much-maligned sequel, and he reunites with both of this film's leads for 1990's The Two Jakes, sequel to current Patreon poll candidate Chinatown. He also co-stars with Nicholson in The Crossing Guard and Anger Management. Mike Gomez played Manuel. We've seen him now in Getting Wasted and Zoot Suit, and we always bring up his classic line from The Big Lebowski.
They got us working in shifts.
Leads. Dirk Blocker played Beef, which is funny because I think the last time we saw him, he was a member of the Meat Machine in Midnight Madness, so he's always named after meat. But we've also seen him in Raise the Titanic. He's back after this for Poltergeist, Starman.
Poltergeist.
Starman. What's that one? Do something with it. Starman meat. Star meat. Prince of Dark meat. A MacGyver episode. Meat Guyver. Cutting meat class and pink meat Cadillac. I'm just putting the word meat in all the titles. It doesn't really work. He's also best known to modern audiences for playing Hitchcock on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Lonnie Chapman was Andy. Speaking of Hitchcock, we saw him last as Deke Carter, the owner of the Tides restaurant in The Birds, and in the 80s titles When Time Ran Out, Running Scared, and Amy. Stacey Pickering played Hooker, not Hawker, Hooker. After this, she shows up as Margot in Flashdance, Ruby in Runaway Train, and a manager in Barfly. Floyd Levine played Lou. Before this, he's been in Superfly, Death Wish, and Dog Day Afternoon. We'll have him back this season for Night Shift and Airplane 2. James Jeter played Frank. Before this, he's in The Sand Pebbles, Cool Hand Luke, and Black Sunday. We've seen him so far in A Change of Seasons and Blowout. Alan Fudge played Hawker. We've seen him so far in Capricorn 1. He's also in Concord Airport 79 and Goliath Awaits before this. Later, he shows up in a couple MacGyvers, a few Columbos, and a Quantum Leap. William Russ played Jimbo. We've seen him now in Cruising and Catalanian Little Britches. Later, he's in The Right Stuff, American History X, but he's likely best known for his appearances in Boy Meets World and sequel series Girl Meets World. Gary Grubbs played Honk. Beef and Honk together again. That's what the sequel should be called.
Yeah.
Previously appeared in For the Love of Benji, and later this season he comes back for Honky Tonk Man, and later Silkwood, JFK, Gone Fishin', Battleship, and Django Unchained. David Beecroft played Kevin. His next film credit is 5 years down the line as Annie's lover in Creepshow 2. Juan Ramirez played Angel Dominguez. Later he has credits in Above the Law, Child's Play, Backdraft, and The Fugitive. Lupe Ontiveros played the Madam in The Whorehouse. I didn't even see her in there. We've seen her now in Cheech and Chong's next movie and Zoot Suit. Later she shows up in The Goonies, Born in East LA, Blood In, Blood Out, but she's likely best known for playing Yolanda Saldivar in Selena, though I'm a big fan of her performance in Todd Solondz's Storytelling. She also reunites with Nicholson in James Brooks's As Good as It Gets. Don Charles McGovern played Patrolman Farwell, uncredited. We've seen him now in his only 2 previous films as Adam in A Small Circle of Friends and Leland in Force 5. I think that's everything for The Border. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, you can find all our socials at linktree/vintagevideopod. If you enjoy what we're doing, consider giving us a review on iTunes. I don't think it helps visibility, but it's good for morale. And if you really like the show, maybe you should join our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/vintagevideopodcast for access to all our monthly 70s reviews and a hand in choosing next month's film. Patrons are currently choosing between Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, Chinatown, The Dion Brothers, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, Gatorbait, The Groove Tube, Herbie Rides Again, The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, The Parallax View, Spies, 3 the Hard Way, and Where the Red Fern Grows for a 50th anniversary review next month. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time when we'll be discussing Cannery Row, which IMDb describes like so. Now, I apologize in advance. There are only 2 summaries for Cannery Row on IMDb, and this is the short one. A depressed section of Monterey, California known as Cannery Row from its string of now empty canning plants is the backdrop for an offbeat romantic comedy about a pair of mismatched lovers. Doc is a lonely marine biologist and former baseball star who supplies specimens for science labs and classrooms. Susie is a scrappy drifter who can't even succeed as a prostitute because of her abrasive manner. When the 2 get together, it's fireworks, though not the romantic kind. Not to worry, everything is in the hands of Cannery Row's resident guardian angels, Mac and the Boys, a band of drunken derelicts whose hearts are in the right place even though their brains are not. We leave you now with the trailer for Cannery Row.
Welcome to Cannery Row.
Here we go. All right. You ready? Touch your tone. Swing your hips. Jumping jack.
Home of the world's foremost authorities on leisure.
Tough flight here, Jonesy.
I'd like a job as a waitress if you got one.
Yeah, but we don't serve too many sandwiches in here.
I'm waiting. Right here.
No one knows his name.
So he's the one.
So they call him Doc.
IQ 152, University of Chicago, a master's and PhD. What do you say? Thank you.
He keeps to himself whenever possible. He knows what he likes. Octopi.
Oh, hey, Doc, you know Susie here?
He's not the sort of man who goes looking for trouble.
How do you do?
I knew this guy once who was always talking about he was going to order a beer milkshake, get a drive-in.
So he never saw her coming.
He never did.
Suddenly, without warning,
Hi, Doc, I'm all set.
he never had a chance.
Excuse me. I gotta go make a phone call.
Slow down, Doc. I'm not as young as I used to be. It's pretty funny business, unborn things and all that.
There are funnier businesses. Oh, little Sissy Q.
What do you got, mister? Bud snakes? You sit here reading starfish.
Sea urchins.
A beer milkshake?
Who cares what she thinks?
What the hell was that?
I call it an over the rainbow. I knew you wouldn't be able to do it.
I do what I want, I live the way I want, and I'm free.
Hey, I'm sorry, really. What can I do to make it up?
You can drop dead.
Crazier things have happened on Cannery Row.
25 frogs for $1.
You got a 5-frog profit there.
We got you all kinds of frogs, and we figured, what the hell? We might as well celebrate.
MGM presents Nick Nolte.
What have I got myself into?
And Deborah Winger.
I ain't got the class of a duck.
And John Steinbeck's irascible,
Let's see what you got, hot stuff.
irresistible love story, Cannery Row.
I don't know, Doc. I like you just fine when you're not around.